Hey guys, welcome back. Kaio-Edition here with another video. I'm going to be going into something a little bit different in this video from what you've seen on the channel before. I've only strictly been a card game content creator, and I think at this point I kind of want to do something a little bit different. I will still be making, Masters and possibly Fusion World content, and then some other content for maybe like the League of Legends card game when it comes out. But I'm going to be doing a lot of Marvel Rivals content. Now, for multiple reasons. For one, this game is taking up most of my free time when I'm not hanging out with my daughter, my wife, or at work. I'm normally playing Marvel Rivals, and I honestly would rather be playing Marvel Rivals than anything else right now. It's so fun, and a lot of people probably don't know this. I played Overwatch for the first like 3 years of its existence. I played like nothing but Overwatch. I was top 500 the first few seasons with being a tank character, Winston player, and I really enjoyed playing Overwatch until it got to a point where I just couldn't put the time into it anymore. But Marvel Rivals has really brought back that hero shooter like competitive edge that I haven't had in a video game in a really long time, and I'm loving it. So I'm going to be doing a lot of Marvel Rivals content on this channel now. This is including, commentaries. This is including spectating. This is including patch notes and reveals and character stuff. And I do play on console, so I will be portraying a lot of my like help and guides to console players, just because we do kind of play a little bit of a different game than those who play on PC. But today I wanted to start with a tier list video, kind of what my tier list video would be for current season 1. We're about 2 weeks into season 1. We had 2 new heroes released, which is sort of changed the meta a little bit. So I'm gonna give you guys sort of my breakdown of these like 35 37 hero, yeah, 35 heroes, and just start making some content out of this stuff right now. Hopefully you guys do enjoy Marvel Rivals. I mean, if you guys do enjoy it, let me know. Currently playing, I will be streaming probably by the end of the month. I just ordered a new PC, so I should be able to do everything by the end of January is what I'm hoping. So currently almost GM, I think I'm almost GM in season 1. I'm like 5 games out of GM, like 5 or 6 games out of GM. So I would say I know a little bit of what I'm talking about with at least from a console competitive standpoint. So we're gonna start right here with the video, and I have 5 tiers. I'm gonna break these down a little bit for you guys here. So anything that is below B tier, so that is C and D tier, obviously, right? I would consider these not viable characters for climbing. There's going to be an asterisk next to all of these characters because there are people who are going to one trick every character in the game. This is just typical competitive game stuff. You have people who are playing every character. You can climb with any character technically if you are good enough of a player, but for the average person who maybe doesn't want to play Black Widow to GM, you're going to be picking some of these other better characters, right? So C and D are going to be kind of left for those characters. Anything that's in B tier, anything in B tier I would consider to be a good character. However, maybe some flaws, maybe not enough good team up synergies, or a very big weakness to what the current metagame is, and I'll talk about that a little bit. Then we have A tier. A tier would be incredibly powerful heroes right now. These are characters you're going to see a lot of in the game. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. Most of the time they're going to win. But these characters have very good team up synergies, also just good base stats. Maybe they received a buff. But these are characters that you probably should start looking at as suggestions, maybe for your main, or maybe like your off main character. And then of course S tier. These are going to be the best of the best. These are going to be characters that you should be playing all the time. These are characters you're probably going to see a lot of the players in top 500 probably maining these characters, and you're going to see multiple of them. So we'll start here. I did sort of separate this by, I think I put Warlock there for some reason, but I did separate this by, we have the DPS, we're going to do supports, and then Vanguards last. Now, two issues here with these little sprays that I was using for the characters. For whatever reason, Bucky's and Invisible Woman's would not show up. So I'm going to have to update that for the next video because I don't know why they wouldn't show up. So we'll start here with Black Widow. Arguably the worst character in the game. She's just like a nerfed Black Widow, or I'm not a Black Widow, a nerfed Widowmaker. Ironically, it's almost the same exact name. They're just not very good right now. She has a very good team up with Hawkeye, which gives him damage, but unless you're someone like Shroud or someone who, I think on console, it's very difficult to play Widowmaker, just because there is no aim assist. And unless you're playing with mouse and keyboard, her tracking is just much more difficult to do on a controller. So I'm gonna put Widow in D tier. Hawkeye, I'd probably put Hawkeye in E tier. So he's not S tier anymore. The damage changes, I think, mattered a little bit. And again, this is for console gaming. I don't think he's as good. I think we've seen a lot more on the dive character route, and that ends up affecting Hawkeye tremendously. But also in higher elo, he's just banned. So he's not really going to be played a lot. And when he's played, I think he gets overshadowed by some of the other characters now. Black Panther. Black Panther I also would put in A tier. He is probably the easiest dive character to play. For all of the DPS characters, he's probably the easiest dive character to play other than like Psylocke. His damage is really good. His ultimate can be really powerful in game changing. Most of the time it's not, but he's really solid. If you don't know how to play against Black Panther, he can end up just completely carrying a game. Or if you are playing Black Panther and your opponent can't counter you, you'll just win the game by yourself. Downsides, I think when you start seeing this 3 support meta, which is steadily starting to grow, it becomes much more difficult to kill because you're not able to put out as much damage, or even like the triple tank meta. It doesn't work as well, and there is an alternative to Black Panther that we'll get to in this video that does a little bit better into that particular meta. So we got Moon Knight. So Moon Knight's damage, incredible. He is very good in choke points. He's probably my favorite. He's my favorite DPS to play on first point of convergence maps. So when you're playing convoy maps or convergence maps, you have generally a very niche choke point you're trying to get through. He's good on offense and defense on the first point every single time. Every single map, he is really good on that first point. After that, it varies by map. Team comp obviously matters a little bit, but he particularly varies by map. So I'm gonna put him in A tier. If he was a little more playable in every situation, he would be S tier. But I think he's A tier. Ultimate does great damage when it hits, but generally just his damage output is really high. I'd say the one thing that also holds it back from being S tier is that unless you know how to use his escapes, which you need a cloak and dagger so you can get the invisibility, and you need to be able to use your double jump and your glide / your grappling hook very well. If you don't know how to do that and you're not quick with it, you just die. You don't really have an escape. So when you're getting dove by a Black Panther or a Psylocke, it becomes very difficult for you to get away, and now you're just feeding their ultimates. You're not actually doing anything. So he's also one of the characters that a lot of like low elo players just instantly jump to because he does so much damage, and you're gonna find people are going to feed a lot because of that. But Moon Knight's really easy to just get a lot of damage on. We have an Invisible Man. We have Mr. Fantastic. He is everything but fantastic right now. I don't think he does enough damage. He's good, really good in like domination maps or control maps, but that's really it. I don't think he's really good on convoy maps yet. I don't know if he needs a buff, but he just doesn't seem like he does enough. I do like him in if you're playing against like Banner, Strange, Iron Man, because at least you do have a counter to Iron Man, and if you can actually catch Iron Man out of the sky, you have a very good counter to him as well. But other than that, I think he's probably like C tier, honestly, right now, which is kind of sad because I really like Mr. Fantastic as a character. I think his kit's super fun. I just don't think he's really good right now. We have Psylocke, which I'm gonna put in S tier. Probably the most balanced DPS when it comes to close range and damage. She's basically Genji. Her ultimate's really strong, can be very impactful. She has invisibility. She does everything very well. She's very squishy. I think she's a 250 health character. But I think she's definitely someone, if you were playing DPS and you're a DPS main, you should know how to play Psylocke as one of your rotation characters. If you don't know how to play Psylocke, you need to learn how to play Psylocke. We have Hela, another S tier. Her change to her damage, she was nerfed a little bit with her health, and that was it. People were talking about her ultimate got nerfed a little bit. Still incredibly impactful. She's also fantastic for dealing with characters like Iron Man and Storm, who are very popular right now. She puts out a lot of damage, and you can just instantly just pop them out of the air with like 2 shots to the head. Hela's fantastic. You have to play Hela. Iron Man, I would put Iron Man in A tier. He is only really strong with Banner. If you don't have Banner, he's kind of like B tier, but most of the time you're going to have a Banner on your team because he's really popular right now, because people are now realizing how good his team up is. That extra damage buff is just really, really good for Iron Man. Punisher, I'm going to put Punisher in B tier. I think the shotgun change hurt him a little bit. He is borderline not good sometimes. He's also borderline really good. So he's kind of in the middle. I think if you don't have Rocket, he is substantially worse. Much worse than something like Winter Soldier, who I think with or without Rocket, Winter Soldier is just better. Wolverine, I would put Wolverine in. I would put Wolverine in A tier. I'd put Wolverine in S tier. Yeah, I think a really good Wolverine. This is the character when you are playing against those triple tank comps, which don't happen too often, especially in like low elo. People are just going to stick to the 2-2-2. But 3 tank is really strong. 3 tank, 3 healer, or like 2 tank, 3 healer. And when those tanks can't die, you need someone who can shred through damage. I mean, shred damage through HP, and that's going to be Wolverine. Probably, like I said, next to Panther. I mean, Panther has more escape, but Wolverine just has more just flat out just damage against tanks, which I think is really, really good. So he's someone you can actually pick to dive to dive the front line rather than diving the back line. So you actually have someone like a Wolverine and a Black Panther combination, and then you keep someone like maybe like a Moon Knight or a Namor or someone who can deal some range damage. You have a very interesting comp, very difficult comp to deal with. We have Magic. Magic's been getting banned a lot in my games in Diamond in GM, for good reason. She's someone else who just has tons of damage, tons and tons of damage. She actually might be like the best melee DPS in the game right now. She also can be very tanky, with being able to just gain, shields. She's definitely someone that's a little more difficult to I think she's a 3-star difficulty. She's someone who's really also I think is a little more difficult to play some of these other characters. But once you learn her, man, Magic is scary. Scarlet Witch, D tier. She doesn't do enough. Like, her damage is okay, her ultimate's kind of mid. She's good at her damage, kind of changed, so she's no longer doing percentage damage. She does just extra damage. So her percentage damage, she still does percentage damage. It just got nerfed. But now she just does just better flat damage. I think she's better against backline characters, not against tanks. Because against tanks, you're basically just draining a little bit of their health over and over again, and then nothing, basically. Namor. Namor is probably A tier as well. Yeah, probably A tier. He really needs Luna to like be really, really good. So kind of like Iron Man again, you kind of need a team up to be like fantastic. When you have that team up, you're great. When you don't have the team up, you're still really good. you're just a little bit worse. Just a little bit worse. Spidey, I'm going to put in B tier. He's very, very player dependent, and I've run into a few good Spider-Mans on console. Not a ton. His team-ups are cool, but just him by himself can actually make a lot of plays, but most of the time he ends up just being really annoying and doesn't actually do much, and then the other team ends up winning. Honestly, if you play Spider-Man, watch some of the PC players play Spider-Man. It's incredible, and you can't do that stuff on a controller. It's just impossible, like sensitivity wise. So he's definitely a really hard character to play. If you know how to play him very well, you can do super well. But he's not a character that most people are gonna end up picking up. Kind of the same thing for Iron Fist. Iron Fist is kind of in that middle ground. He, not a lot of people are playing him. I don't think any of the top tier people that I'm looking at that I know of right now are playing a lot of Iron Fist on console. He's not as good as Psylocke. He's not as good as Magic, and I think that's why people aren't playing a lot. Now he does have a team up with Luna, so you get like a Luna Iron Fist Namor comp. Like, that's actually really cool. It just won't happen a lot because Luna's gonna get banned in high elo, and they're just easier characters to play. Like Storm. Storm is the new candy of season 1. She is probably the best projectile character next to Hela, or like I guess hit scan character. She doesn't do. I don't know if she'd be considered projectile. No, she'd be considered hit scan, I feel like. But she just can't do headshot damage. But her damage pierces through targets, which is great if they're lining up for you. Her ultimate's incredibly powerful. She has a good, powerful buff that's both speed and damage, depending on which one you want to do. She's very good. I think Storm is probably my favorite DPS to play this season. And the buff definitely did her justice. She went from probably being like a C tier character all the way up to S. Squirrel Girl, just don't see a lot of Squirrel Girl right now. I think she's good. She's the equivalent of Junkrat. She got some buffs, like her ultimate does more damage now. I think more people just have to play her. She has a team up with Spider-Man, I think, which actually benefits her a lot. So if you get a good Spider-Man on your team, it might be a good idea to play Squirrel Girl. Really good at defense, really good at hitting choke points. Offensively, she's not as good. She's better in like corridor maps. So like on I think it's Keltar. Yeah, it's Keltar. That's the symbiote map. She's really good on second point. So between first and second point, she's fantastic. From second to third point, she's not very good because there's just way more open space. Then we get to Bucky, Mr. Bucky Barnes, S tier for sure. He is a character that you should also know how to play. He's played at every rank. He is fantastic. His ultimate's good. His kit itself, so not even his ultimate, but just the way that his abilities function. He has a combo ability. He has a grab, an AoE, and a knockup. All of these grant him shield, which is just incredible. Incredible. His ultimate is a reset, which we all know what that does. But his actual kit is what I think makes him a star of the DPS class, where his ultimate is just sort of like an extra flavor on top of it. But his kit itself is just fantastic. Oh, we got Star-Lord. I'm gonna put Star-Lord in. I'll put Star-Lord in A tier. He's definitely S. Nah, he's like in this weird area in between. Star-Lord puts out a lot of damage. He's a flying version of Tracer, if you guys played Overwatch. Automatic reloads, his ultimate is a lock-on. Like, there's particular times where Star-Lord's just fantastic. There's also times where he just kind of flies around and just peppers your opponents. So you have to be really good at Star-Lord and know the evasive techniques on how to use him. I think he's a good off pick. So like if you're playing like a 3 damage comp, so you got like a Magic, like Magic Storm. If you're playing like a Star-Lord, like you need like other mobility characters basically. So like if you're playing like with the Storm, right, you should be playing damage dealers who can gain power from Storm. So like Magic is generally going to be in the front line, might dive to the back line. You're gonna have Hela, you're gonna have Moon Knight, Punisher. These characters, they're gonna gain more, they're gonna gain buffs from Storm. If your teammates are playing like Panther and Wolverine, Star-Lord's probably okay, because at least then you're going to be mobile, moving around a lot, so you just kind of have to know when to play him. He also has a team up with Adam Warlock, so that's something that if your support is playing Adam Warlock, you should probably look into playing Star-Lord, because you're going to get the extra revive, which is going to be really good. Alright, so that is all the DPS. We're going to move on to the strategists, or aka the supports. We got Miss Sue Storm, S tier. Ultimate's fantastic. Her kit is head and shoulders above a lot of DPS characters too. Like, she does a lot. She has a push, a pull, a giant AoE shield that also heals. Her healing just flat out is really good. She's got a nice, decent snare damage trap. She does everything. Does everything very well. Sue Storm, S tier. Not much more to say. Cloak and Dagger, same thing. I think you put these two blondes together, you have so much healing on your team, it's not even funny. This is, I think, the equivalent of Luna Mantis in Season 1. I mean, in Season 0. But I think these two just do a little bit more. Outside of Luna. But I think Sue has sort of taken over as the 1B to Mantis. Just because I think Mantis is a little bit harder to play, and Invisible Woman is much easier to play. Loki's probably the most balanced support that we have. Loki is really good into like he's really good as like a third healer, doing like Loki, Luna, Cloak, or Loki, Luna, Invisible Woman, because now you can copy one of their ultimates to then have a second. Like with Luna, it's like if you copy Luna, you have 2 Luna ults. That's a lot of. That's like what, 12 or 13 seconds where you just no one can die. That's really powerful. He's definitely harder to play. I think that's probably why I won't put him in S tier. He's definitely harder to play than these two. Adam Warlock, probably B tier. You don't see him a ton. I think he needs his healing is. He's kind of like he's probably really good as like a third healer. If you're doing like a 3 healer comp. If you're doing a 2 healer comp, it's kind of dicey depending on the situation. He could be really good. He could just get dove or just not do much. But I think if you are playing Warlock, your teammates need to understand that you're playing Warlock, and they need to switch and team up with Warlock to get the full maximization of his power. If you're just playing Adam Warlock and you're getting no team up synergy, which team up synergy is with Star-Lord and Mantis, then you're not actually getting the full effect out of this character, and you should just switch to somebody else. Like Luna, who is the best healer in the game still. That probably won't change, at least until Season 2, because we're not getting any more healers in Season 1, so we'll have to see what we get in Season 2 before that actually changes, or she gets nerfed, which is also possible. Jeff the Shark. So Jeff is a C tier character. If you play Jeff the Shark as a primary healer, you are actually hindering your team from actually winning the game. Doesn't matter how much healing you have. It doesn't matter how good your ults are. He is not efficient as a primary healer. As a secondary healer, he's a little more efficient. As a third healer, he's fantastic. So as a third healer, he actually can swap to doing damage and healing simultaneously, and he becomes way more valuable in that sort of play line. If you're using him as you have like you and like a rocket, you need to switch. Do not play Jeff. Not play Jeff. It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter how much healing you have. It doesn't matter if like, oh look, I carried my team. Doesn't matter. There's a reason why Jeff is not played a lot in high elo right now, and it's because it's either people are not utilizing him as a third healer, which again is a third healer. depending on what your bans are in high elo, he could be really good. Like if you ban some DPSs, or like if your teammates ban DPSs, or you ban like Luna or something, and then you go like Invisible Woman, Cloak, or like Invisible Woman, Rocket, Jeff, and then you have like a Groot on your team, it's really good. But again, if you're not playing Jeff as the third healer, don't play him. Just don't play him. We have Mantis. I'd put Mantis in A tier. Mantis is harder to play than these three. She does a lot of damage, but I think her healing, like her healing is just like, the utility of Sue Storm is just so much better than it is for Mantis. Like it's just her healing is just better. Just her flat healing is just better now. So Mantis is good. Like if you have again 3 healer comps, it's a big thing right now. Like Cloak, Mantis, Luna, Cloak, Mantis, Invisible Woman, Cloak, Mantis, Loki. Like there's a lot of good healers, and you can just keep your team alive forever. And Mantis also does a lot of damage as well if you're able to hit her headshots. Brings us to Rocket. Put Rocket also in A tier. Rocket is Rocket is a little bit different. So he's not going to heal. Like he can heal as much as all these other healers can, but he the typical Rocket player is not going to heal that much. They're going to try to damage as well. When you start getting into high elo and you're playing with a good Rocket player, they will do nothing but heal. Basically just be really mobile. They have a res. Their ultimate, this is kind of the interesting part. So again, this is why I think like the 3 healer meta is going to be really popular until they nerf it, is that Rocket as a third healer allows you to counter your opponent's their formation, or their kind of their composition, their team composition of 3 healers. So like normally you have 3 healers, 2 tanks, 1 DPS. That can get countered. Normally if you have 3 healers, like this is kind of, if you guys don't know, like in high elo, so like you have 3, if you have 3 healers, basically you guys are just cycling through your guys' ultimates, and you're kind of at a stalemate until someone sort of checks somebody or gets a pick. It's basically what it is. With Rocket allows you to trump at least one of their ultimates and forces them to use 2 ultimates. The damage output that his ultimate provides is crazy. It's stronger than any of the season buffs. It's stronger than Storm's enhancement. You can turn one of your DPSs like Punisher or Bucky into a killing machine, right? Even somebody else, like even like your actual, like your Doctor Stranges, or like your Moon Knight, or your Storm, or somebody else on your team. You can just turn someone else into a killing machine, and the damage you output will counter the damage that they're healing with their ultimate. Will force them to either they will die, or they'll have to pop a second ultimate. So you used 1 ultimate to pop 2, and now your crowd control ultimates, like your Doctor Strange, your Magnetos, now you can actually start killing that backline and then forcing your opponent into a bad situation, right? So again, I think he's really good, but that's kind of the avenue you have to play him, is really using him to focus and basically cancel out your opponent's ultimate. Hopefully that makes sense. So now we're gonna go into the Vanguards, my favorite role. We got Banner, S tier. His team up's incredible. Dives back lines really strong, can catch character down in the air. He does a lot of damage. He's got a stun. A good Banner can just carry the game. Good Banner can carry the game, and also it helps you kind of build and craft a team comp if you are going to ban or pick Banner. So if you pick Banner, you're going to go Strange, you're going to go Iron Man. That should be half of your team comp. If you ban Bruce, now you know, okay, Iron Man's probably off the table. You can still play Strange, but now your team comp's going to be a little bit different. But also that's if your opponent, so your opponent starts banning some characters, you can go, okay, you know what, let's ban Banner. Basically takes that combination off the map, and then you guys can play something else. Brings us to Strange. Strange is also S tier. Nothing you can say about Strange, man. He is the most consistent character, I think, in the Vanguard class. He's basically our Reinhardt. Eye of Agamotto is really strong. The teleportation's really strong. Does a lot of damage. He's just overall just super solid. The best Vanguard currently in the game is 1A to 1B being Magneto, who is also like right there. Obviously, you can kind of run both of these together in tandem, and you just have shields for days. It's not always the best thing to do that because it is counterable, but they're both very solid. Magneto has really good way of just picking down the backline with his ultimate. Both are very strong characters. We got Groot. I'm gonna put Groot in A tier. He's a slightly worse version, I think, of Strange and Magneto, but then also he can be more of a playmaker in some sense because of his ultimate, being able to snare multiple people together. His walls can do really well. So if you're playing like a push map and your opponents are playing Strange and Magneto, if you wall one of them off with like the attack wall or even the defensive wall, you can cut them off from getting healed and you can kill them, right? On defense on push maps, I don't think Groot's as good because his walls can get destroyed really quickly because of the cart. So he's probably better on offense on those type of maps, but then also on like control maps, you can just block off particular like avenues of movement, and then your opponent have to go over them or find a different way around, or they're just wasting time destroying the walls. So we have Venom. I think Venom is kind of down here. Like he's down here in this area. The buff made him much tankier, but I don't think he's as good. I just don't think he's that good. Still, like there's people who are gonna play Venom, but overall, like there's just better tanks right now. He's just not as he's just not as good as a diving tank as like Banner is. We got Penny. I'm gonna put Penny in B. I love Penny. She is arguably the best defensive Vanguard. Choke points, locking down a particular area with her hives, really strong. She's got a snare which you can catch. You can stun people out of ultimates with it, which is really cool. She's got self-healing. She does a lot. Her damage is good. Damage is really good with the explosives. If you know a good Penny player can basically lock down a portion of a map, whether it's a control map or a convoy map, and that's really difficult for a lot of people to deal with. So definitely think Penny's a good character. But really she's really good for defense. If you play her offensively, you have to play her perfectly, where you can just play like something like Magneto or Strange and then make mistakes and then still be able to like push and not like sacrifice winning or like sacrifice like position because you're playing Penny. We go to Thor. Thor is the counter to the double shield meta. So if your opponents are playing Strange and Magneto, you just play Thor. You push him. Thor is just really strong, pushing through those tanks. He's also kind of can bully Banner in some ways, not all the time, but like if you can bully him and keep him off of your backline. He's good. He's not a great like anti-dive tank, like Penny's way better for anti-dive because of the mines, but Thor can do a little bit of that as well. He's got some really good mobility. He's got some good range damage. But if you're playing like a push map and you don't have a healer who's like designated, this is kind of like if you're playing Thor and you're playing like a push map and you're not going to play a shield Vanguard, you should probably be running three healers. Like one person who's just designated to keeping Thor alive while he tries to push. And then you have like maybe your other two damage dealers are like dive characters or just like back range people who can just give Thor some support. And also, of course, he's got a team up with Storm, which gives Storm a little bit more damage, but it's not a huge boost, but it's enough to make it like worth playing. And then you have Cap, which I would put Cap like B tier here. Cap is really reliant on the Storm Thor combination. He gets a buff from Thor Force, not from Storm, but generally you're gonna play the three of these guys together. He's really difficult to kill. His damage leaves some to be desired. I think they're gonna have to buff his damage, but his overall ability to just be a disruptor can be valuable. He's really good on control maps. Convoy maps, it really depends. Again, team comp wise, I don't think he's super good. When you run into like a cap in my elo, you're like you either just like roll over him and then he switches, or he just never dies. But he's not doing a lot. You know, like he might block like a decent amount of damage, but he's not really doing much. He's just kind of just being annoying. And those are things that don't show up on your stat sheets at the end of the game, is like what Cap is able to actually do. If you're looking at like the bottom stats, that's kind of what you want to look at, like his deflections and stuff like that, because he does a lot of stuff that's not going to show up on damage, and damage blocked, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. I mean, there's right now there's a lot of good characters, which I like. I think most of the characters in the game should be good. And this is really all that we had that's not super good right now, so I think that's pretty fair. So let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I'm gonna have Marvel Rivals content just kind of start popping up on the channel more and more, and we'll probably slowly start turning the channel into more Marvel Rivals content than anything else. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys do enjoy Marvel Rivals, let me know. If you guys do play on PlayStation, let me know, or console. I generally play 5-6 days a week. Again, we're going to start streaming here pretty soon once I get the necessary computer stuff to get everything going. So thank you guys for watching. As always, appreciate you guys for supporting the channel throughout the years, and I hope you guys continue to support while we go into this new lane of content. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.